The unboxing videos get a little longer than it should have been, so we're going to switch over back to these. But yeah, these cameras are okay. It's just that I'm going to try them out later. So yeah, we'll see how they work later. But yeah, we're going to try them out later. And I'm charging up a camera. Their camera's charged. So yeah. And these two could both do 2 hours each. So that's not bad. It's almost 3 hours. So that's not bad. I mean, that's like you put the bigger chips in them, but still. I mean, I can understand. These cameras are cheap. These two cameras have the different chip in them, so yeah.
Recurrent error and an encoder fault. I don't know what either of those mean or why it's happening, but all I have to do is bring the thing to a stop, turn it off and back on again, and it's fine. I was told my two cars sat at Electromechanica for too long, and employees started fiddling with them, which explains why my two cars are tuned so differently. This one feels like it has a little bit more power than the red one, but the red one definitely has more regen. According to the display, off-throttle regen in this one is only about 10 amps, which is basically nothing, and the red one has more like 30 amps of off-throttle regen, which is still basically nothing, but is more than this one. And this red one has brake blending. And by that I mean the brake pedal acts as a regen on-off switch. You touch the brake switch, and you get full regen. Now it doesn't ramp into it. It's not quite as jarring as it could be, but the brake pedal is still an on-off switch, which is not the smoothest operating thing. The brakes and the steering are both unassisted. As you expect with unassisted disc brakes, the pedal feel is quite firm, and these have basically no regen at all. The steering is actually quite light. At low speeds and at high speeds, it's almost excessively light. And I think there's something wrong with the steering geometry, because if I'm doing low-speed maneuvering like now, if I approach full lock, I get to a certain point. Where is it? There. It goes full lock on its own. All right, let's try out the suspension with these railroad tracks. Oh my God! You don't get that on a four-wheel vehicle? That felt terrifyingly close to rolling over. I'm not doing that again. I've not driven a G2 or a G3 Solo, so I can't compare the way they drive. But what I can do is compare the way they look. They look a little more grown up on the outside, even if they are a touch fatter, because of things like the aero covers over the lights and a real grille in place of the fake one, because they have air conditioning. But it's the inside where they look the most grown up in comparison to the G1s. They look like proper production car interiors, unlike the G1s, which look like slapped together home-built contraptions. They even have labeled climate controls and a labeled drive selector knob. How novel! I'm curious if they're also more production car in other ways, like the way they drive and the seating position. Given the whole buyback thing, I'll probably never know. Aside from different interiors, the G2's Onward also had completely different components underneath compared to these G1s. These G1s don't just have off-the-shelf parts. They have parts that are available to consumers for home-built EV conversion. The motor is an HP EVS AC51. The controller for that motor is a Curtis 1239. The display is a Curtis Engage 7. The charger is a TSM 2500 from Thunderstruck. So is the charge controller, a Thunderstruck EVCC. The brakes are all Wilwood down to the brake pedal. If none of those names mean anything to you, imagine a new combustion car being built with a Ford small block, MSD ignition, Holley EFI, Magnaflow exhaust, etc. It's not inherently wrong, it's just really weird. And that's just the parts I've identified. I'm sure there's much more to be discovered in here. Now, I say there's nothing wrong with using parts like this, but there is. Cost. The Orion BMS alone,
Let's see how far I can zoom in.
Real Solo number 27, currently retails
for that sucks.
$1,000. The G1 Solo, when it was new, retailed for $15,500, meaning theoretically 7% of the purchase price of a new G1 Solo was just the BMS. Now, sure, they probably didn't pay retail price for parts.
That's kind of neat. These cameras are different. Okay, I push the up button. I can turn off the mic when I'm talking on that camera, so that's pretty neat.
At all, it was razor thin. Not that it matters, they have to actually sell them to generate a profit.
So I'm going to do a test with one of these cameras now. Eventually, so yeah.
The display, the charger, all they have to do is get the associated software, which is readily available for all those things.
So I'm going to let you guys go.